This is part one of our visit to Komodo National Park. And we're going to visit a number of places, but we're not actually going to the Komodo Islands on this day. Most people will fly from Bali to Labuan Bajo. And it's a major airport now. When I came 13 years ago, it was just that one little building. The bay is full of lights at night, and in the morning you can see all the boats. After a good breakfast, we headed across the street to the docks. There we'd catch a water ferry to our main boat that we'd be staying on. I just found it interesting that the dock building is now bigger than the airport used to be. Joseph is our guide, and our first stop will be Kelor Island. It's a spectacular view from the top of the island, but let's introduce you to Joseph, who's our tour guide, and his tour company, Paulino Flores Tours.
Labuan Bajo.
Labuan Bajo.
Welcome to Kelor Island. Dear the wood. Wherever you are.
Come book a tour with Joseph.
So-called Paulino Flores Tour.
Paulino Flores Tour.
Find us at www.parlinoflorestour.com.
Best tour yet. Best tour ever.
Joseph was my tour guide 13 years ago when he was just 19. Now at 32, he's got his own company. And we spent the last week with him touring across Flores. So hope you enjoy this tour now of Komodo National Park. And as you'll see from the video, Komodo National Park includes a lot more than just Komodo Islands.
This is for the photos.
In fact, we won't hit the Komodo Islands until part 2. There, black-tip shark, and of course, there's also souvenirs just about everywhere you stop. But just a spectacular view from up at the top of the island. And Kelly and I both give it a thumbs up. Our next stop, just a spectacular spot. We walk through the little village.
Rinca village.
See all the drying fish. But we're on our way to see a cave full of bats. And hati, watch out for Komodo dragons. And there's a nest of a Komodo dragon. But we've made it to the cave. Spectacular sight. There's natural light that comes in from a number of entrances, cracks in the ceiling. Not sure how well this will show up.
Come on, come here.
Just look at the eyes light up on the back. Here's a couple still photos, different exposure. Hopefully you can see the back.
Don't open your mouth here. Your mouth. Because to protect the foot.
Oh.
We are in the bat cave.
Oftentimes there'll be pythons hanging from some of the roots and so forth in the cave and eating some of the bats.
You might not see a lot, but you can hear them.
Fortunately, we didn't get to see that on this visit.
Wow.
Here's your first trivia question. How many species of bats are found in Indonesia? And are these the flying foxes? Well, if you said these aren't the flying foxes, you'd be correct. The flying foxes are much larger, even though these are much larger than the little brown bats we have in Arizona. But Indonesia has 175 species of bats. And we'll see just a couple of them. But we've hiked back down, and now we're back out to the boat. Got a nice little refreshing snack, some dragon fruit juice, and now it's off to Strawberry Rock.
This is Strawberry Rock.
Wow.
Cool looking rock. That's Joseph,
Hey,
and that's
Who else?
Kelly Paul.
I've got to admit, I wasn't too excited about going to Strawberry Rock when I saw it from the ocean, but once we stopped there, climbed out on the rock, it was just a spectacular sight. All the colors and vibrancy of the rock, just spectacular. And it definitely had a pink and red and strawberry color to it. But one of the things that I liked was the fact that it had this iron ore or whatever going through it that looked like gold. Took a bunch of pictures, and you see what I mean by those little gold veins running through it. Just spectacular. The ocean and the islands in the background. Cool rock.
That's Flores.
And I'll tell you, it does look
And
like
over
gold.
there is
spectacular.
Rinca.
Rinca.
You'd have to.
I also like some of the white rock.
Pictures and video, but it's just.
See how that sticks out. And here's a section of white rock I really liked. Interesting looking. But a cool spot. Strawberry Rock. Then it's back on the boat. I figure we might as well show you what this boat looks like. That's me on the top deck. That's the Indonesian flag. And we are sailing in the ocean. Though, actually, I think we're anchored because we just went to the rock. And that's one of the kids that paddles out to try to sell us souvenirs. Happens about wherever you go. Little Komodo dragon carvings, pearls, what have you. But that's the upper deck. That shade covering we thought was pretty good till you realize you still get sunburn sitting under that. So you got to go down there. That's where we'd eat lunch and breakfast. And the crew, I think there's 3 of them plus Joseph. They sleep down there. Kelly and I had rooms on the upstairs. I'm sure I've got a picture of those at some point in this video. But that's the boat that we'd spend a few days on and a few nights. Had air conditioning in our rooms when they ran it, and power so we could recharge our phones. That's Kelly standing on top. And now we're at a place where everyone's waiting to see the giant fruit bats fly out from the island. As it gets dusk, they'll leave the mangroves and it'll be a spectacular sight. Unfortunately, on this day it was too windy and there were almost no bats that flew. So I've thrown these pictures in from 12 years ago. And fruit bats, largest species of bat, wingspans of about 5 feet, fly from the mangroves, in this case over to Komodo Island.
That's more than last everything night, in it.
Spectacular sight
All
to
kinds
see.
of fruit.
Shame he missed it on this trip. The next morning, we start off with the great breakfast. All the meals were fantastic, great presentation. And now we're heading to Rinca. Got a cool statue of 2 big Komodos fighting. Welcome to Rinca Island, part of Komodo National Park. Komodo dragons are actually found on 4 islands in Komodo National Park, and then on the larger island of Flores, which is outside the park, and currently there's no locations where you're allowed to go see them there. But there's one, the first one we see. We're hoping to see one of those blue vipers. Unfortunately, we never found one. But we did find the main attraction.
Female, and here the male.
It's so spectacular to watch them just wander around, just laying there by the mud puddle. Komodo dragons are the world's largest lizard. Record size of over 10 feet and 350 pounds. Though typically they're about 7.5 feet and 150 pounds. That 350-pound lizard likely included about 90 pounds of food in its stomach. But they're a spectacular lizard. The crocodile monitor may actually be longer simply because they're a lot narrower and have a long tail. But the Komodo dragon is the heaviest and biggest overall. And they are just quite a sight. In addition to Kelly and I, there are a number of other people right here just watching, observing, and photographing these Komodo dragons at this water hole. As it starts to come towards us, the ranger puts out that forked stick to redirect it. People often wonder, how do you get so close? Won't they attack you? And well, yes, there have been a number of attacks on people by Komodo dragons. It's infrequent, not common. We just really aren't on their radar for food. So it may look a little risky, but it's not really that scary. But it is magnificent to watch them. There's one. Here comes another one. We're on Rinca, and that's not how they pronounce it in Indonesia, but I don't remember their pronunciation. But in some places I read, and Ranger actually said at one point that there are more Komodo dragons on Rinca than on Komodo Island. Of course, as I look at other information, I see they report more Komodo dragons on Komodo Island than Rinca. And I've seen where there are actually more Komodo dragons on Flores than either Rinca or the Komodo Islands. But Flores is not part of Komodo National Park. And I think I mentioned earlier, there's no tours that take you to see the Komodos on Flores. I'm using the 360 camera here. Allows me to get down low, and that perspective of the lizard from down low, I think, is the best view. Komodo dragons can live up to about 30 years. And the surprising thing is that most of the dragons you see are males. Only about 10% or so of the entire Komodo dragon wild population is female. And an interesting thing is that Komodo dragons are parthenogenic, meaning that the females don't require a male to breed. The problem, however, all the offspring produced through parthenogenesis are male, thus adding to the already overabundance of males. Komodo dragons lay eggs. When the eggs hatch, the hatchlings are about 16 inches. During the first 5 years or so, the young Komodo dragons live in the trees because, well, the larger Komodo dragons would actually eat them. They're cannibalistic. And they reach sexual maturity at about 7 years old. Komodo dragons are said to be one of the smartest reptiles. They exhibit problem-solving capabilities, play behavior, and even recognize individual people and their keepers. The diet of the adult Komodo dragons include everything from the deer found on the island, water buffalo, wild boar. Younger dragons eat insects, rodents, birds. It's just a privilege and honor to get to see these in the wild. Here one is eating some old carrion that it found there left on the ground. And they'll consume those animals, bone and all. Here you see a couple Komodo dragons hiding in the grass. And typically, that's how they hunt, is they're more of an ambush predator.
Just sitting there chilling out.
Rather than chasing and running down their prey, even though it's said that they can run up to 20 miles an hour. But you look through this grass, and you'll notice 2 or 3 Komodo dragons. But when we're there, you can actually see many more. Since our trip is the end of March, we're just at the end of the rainy season. And one of the advantages of that, you'll see everywhere we go, everything is green and lush. There's a old nest from the Komodo dragons. April, May be the best months to go on a tour to the Komodo Islands. And that the rainy season is done, things are still green and lush, and the Komodo dragon season, breeding season, hasn't quite yet begun. This is the Island Museum on Rinca. Introduce you to 2 Komodo dragons, Mr. X and Jessica. there's a lot of information to see and check out. But then it's back to the long dock to hike back to the boat. We see wild boar, one of the diets of the dragon. And when you look in the mud, you can see mud skippers, there's water buffalo, and off in the distance, colorful bird. Unfortunately, with just the camera on my cell phone, can't get a great picture of it. There's a crab. It might have been a mud skipper in that picture. Unfortunately, being on the dock, can't get down close enough to take a picture. Back to the fighting Komodos, back to our boat, and yeah, there's someone there still trying to sell us souvenirs. But it's been a special adventure just to Rinca in this part of Komodo National Park. So watch part 2 to see the rest of Komodo National Park, some of the oceans, and of course, Komodo Island itself. Take care.